welcome to Keiko Vision, a podcast to pump you up to change the world. Hosted by me, Jordana. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to Keiko Vision. I'm Jordana, and I'll be your host. Today, I'll be talking about unemployment. So if you had a chance to check out the Utopia versus Dystopia video that I released last Thursday, it was on unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance is a basic social safety net, and it helps our economy. It has widespread macroeconomic benefits. So economists generally agree that unemployment insurance, for every dollar that we give to somebody who is unemployed, that boosts our economic spending by as much as $2. And that makes sense, right? Like, if you're giving people who don't have a job money, they're going to probably spend it. When Jeff Bezos gets an increase or decrease in the amount of money that he has, it doesn't affect his quality of life at all. It's all on paper for him. So the Utopia versus Dystopia episode was based off of a John Oliver because he says everything perfectly and funny and much better than I do. So definitely check that out. But just to go over some of the basics before I kind of give my spiel on this, the recipiency rate is the percentage of unemployed who actually receive benefits. So the United States is terrible. It's only laid off people. It doesn't cover you if you get fired, if you're out of school, you're a homemaker, caretaker. Those don't count. So it's never going to be at 100%. And generally, the rule of thumb that at least John Oliver brings up is that 50% is supposed to be a good rule of thumb. I don't like this rule of thumb. But even if our target for a healthy economy is at 50% of people who are unemployed receive benefits, we were nowhere close to that. So before the pandemic, we were at 28%, and some states are around 10%. So North Carolina is at 9% and Florida is at 11%. So that means that 9 out of 10 people that are unemployed are not getting any benefits. And like many things, this varies by state. So certain states have a max payout of over $1,000 a week. Other states have a max payout of less than $300 a week. And these recipiency rates, just like everything else, are the result of deliberate choices. So we had a recession, the Great Recession of 2008. There was a lot of that pool of money that was taken. Employers pay for unemployment insurance through taxes. So after that was depleted, what needed to happen was taxes needed to be raised. What didn't happen was taxes getting raised. So instead, many of the states just cut the benefits. I love this quote that was included in the Utopia versus Dystopia episode, and it was by Laura Ingraham, or her mom. And it's, when you're hungry, you'll figure out a way to eat. And for the most part, I think that this is true. People will generally find a way to feed at least their children, though food insecurity in the United States is also terrible. So that's why I say generally, because unfortunately, not all children in the United States receive a healthy diet, because not all families can afford it. And that is just the sad truth. But desperate people make desperate decisions. And so this is why you see this increase in crime. States have made it really difficult to get unemployment insurance. Some hurdles that states put in the way are drug testing, a minimum number of work search activities. So Nebraska, 5 work search activities, Florida as well. But Nebraska, 2 had to be applications for suitable work. And if you don't have any places where you can apply for suitable work in a week, you don't get your benefits. The government was also aggressively targeting fraud, which we should not accept fraud, right? But the problem is that when a study, an analysis of Michigan fraud cases, found that 70% were in error. And so these were people who legitimately needed money. And instead of getting the money that they needed, they had to repay 400%. for the penalty. It's like these people are already vulnerable. Life clearly isn't going as they planned. And then you throw the government coming at you. It's like, can we all just have a little bit of empathy here? I'll say something that I say just about every episode, if not every episode. Our lifespan is decreasing. People are killing themselves from despair. We have a society of people who are basically walking on eggshells and being gaslit by our government. We don't know what to believe. And look, I don't have the answers when it comes to unemployment. Clearly, there are policy reforms just like anything else, but that would require a government working for the people and not the powerful. The most basic way to fix this is with universal basic income. This ends the need for unemployment insurance altogether. It takes away that government oversight and that judge of worthiness. Solutions are out there. There are people fighting for them. Andrew Yang is a perfect example. Him and the Yang gang, I loved it. I brought my kids to their first rally, which was a Yang gang rally in Philly. They had a blast. And if you read Andrew Yang's book, he talks about he did not want to run for president. He just saw this huge problem and nobody addressing it. And so he took the approach of trying to enter politics. I am taking a different approach. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing that, but I am saying that we can't rely solely on policy reform at this point. So when I talk about deliberate choices, here's an example. Florida, under one governor, Rick Scott, employers went from paying an average of $319 per employee to $50 per employee per year. And Florida had put so many hurdles in place that even Ron DeSantis, somebody that I do not agree with on almost everything, he even agrees. He said that he thinks that the system was designed to put as many pointless roadblocks in the way so that people will just give up, say, oh, the hell with it. And we have to remember, this affects real people, moms and dads. Kids see this stress. And John Oliver goes into what he thinks needs to be done. And he said, first, we need to recognize that our current system is broken. And it starts with that, and then goes on to list some policy reform initiatives. You can watch the full episode. I have it online. But I still think that without a drastic shift in priority, away from big money and special interests and towards the people, none of this is possible. How we get that shift in priorities, I don't know. I do know that it doesn't matter which party is in charge. I do know that our current approach isn't working. And I do know that we can't depend on this system going forward. COVID has highlighted all of the flaws, and now it's up to us to do something about it. Since this podcast is new, we have no sponsors. So I will shamelessly plug Keiko. And if you get sick of hearing this, then reach out to become a sponsor.
Keiko, the social app. Keiko, the social app. Keiko, the social app. Keiko rules. Keiko, the social app. Billionaire greed. Keiko, the social app. Destroying America. Keiko, the social app. T-minus 7 years and counting. Keiko, the social app.
And with that, let's get back to the show. Before the break, I talked about unemployment insurance and our current system and how it's just not working. Another thing to mention is independent contractors. Independent contractors and gig workers are generally unable to collect uninsurance benefits altogether. And this is becoming a larger part of our workforce. And we're approaching a time where stability, I believe, will be easier achieved through diversification of income rather than investments. So for me, I want people to be able to easily contribute to society. I think that we can build a community of support. And if we do this, we can create a safety net that isn't dependent on government. And then that safety net can also be a powerful force to push our government to act in the best interest of the people. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just incorporate the things that you love into your life and make money off of it? It's not that I love the subject of economic inequality and screaming into the wind and all of this, but I'm passionate about it. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to contribute the things that I love and that I'm passionate about. And at some point, I want to be able to live off of that. And right now, this whole community doesn't exist, but I'm trying to make it so that I could easily contribute and hopefully at some point live comfortably. But it's not just me. I want to create that template. And just like the NJ Canna Mama, if you enjoy cannabis, you should definitely check that out. But I created a tool where you can input strains, take a picture if you want. If not, there's just kind of a standard that comes up. And you can save details about the strain and also what symptoms it helped with, if it helped with any symptoms, or what effects the strain has on you. Because weed is so specific to individuals, and being able to save and know which strain you should be using for which situation can be helpful. So I created this for me, but then I used that as a template so that anybody could create their own catalog, is what I call it, and save details and then search and filter based on their own inputs. And so I found, for me, daytime strains between 17 and 20% THC is kind of my sweet spot. Evening strains a little higher. I would have never really put that together had I not tracked it. So I've created a group, which is a personal group that you can follow. It's really just a group of my contributions. So it's in the Keiko community. You can join that group, and then you can see all of the different things that I'm working on. So you can access the podcast there. You can access Utopia versus Dystopia there, the NJ Canna Mama tool. I sell some overpriced artwork, kind of keeps me calm. And then you can also just sponsor my work, and you don't get anything in return. It's just knowing that you're helping me be able to put the time and energy into this rather than resorting to consulting in the corporate world again. But I'm not trying to do it just for me. I want to create a community of support and create a way for everybody to do this. A community where you're not necessarily looking for the lowest price. So instead of calling Uber for a ride, maybe instead of paying $60 for the Uber ride, you pay $80 to get a ride to the airport, but it's from a friend of a friend who is hysterical, who you have a great conversation with, and you know that you're helping that person. And that person, you know that person. Your friend knows that person. You know that they're good peoples. Maybe you know that they're in need. And this is a way that you can support them. It's funny, I think about my hairdresser. And I loved my old hairdresser. She was great. But my mom went to her as well. And my mom has the same face as me. Like we're like twins. So we would end up with very similar hairstyles and haircuts just because that is what she thinks looks good on our face, which it did. But at some point, I wanted to try somebody else and get somebody else's view of what would look good on our face. And I pay a lot more for a haircut, but I love my hairdresser. My best friend goes to her. She's awesome. I don't go that often. And in fact, before my last visit 6 months ago, it was like 3 years since I had gotten a haircut. So while I don't go often, when I do go, I give her a hell of a tip on top of paying like the Princeton salon prices. I don't mind spending extra money knowing that it's going to her. And I think we all need to start having that mentality. The people that can, the people that are in a position should be finding ways to help. Whether it's your mechanic, your hairdresser, your favorite waitress, your kid's teacher, somebody who you see busting their ass time and time again, you can just go up to them and say, look, I really appreciate everything you've done for me over the years, and here's a gift. And look, you might not get a tax break from it, but that shouldn't be what drives you. We can't be dependent on nonprofits and religious institutions. You can give anybody $16,000 tax-free per year. People who have a lot of money should be finding ways to funnel some of that down to whether it's the next generation, the community, or the people that are struggling right now. So that $16,000, that doesn't get counted towards the recipient's income. So you might not get a tax break off of it, but the person that's struggling to get by doesn't have to pay tax on it. So there's that. A couple weeks ago, I talked about taxes. All these tax loopholes, look, we're not going to be able to get rid of them, but maybe we fight for some type of incentive to transfer the wealth down to people who need it. So maybe we do fight for some write-off of contributions that go to people making under a certain amount. So rather than take away a tax break, you add one, but one that directly benefits both ends of the spectrum, the people who are in a position to give and the people who really need it. I don't know. I think that's more likely to pass rather than taking something away, adding something. But ultimately, we can't depend on government. And that's something that I think if you get a big group, a community together and then try to fight for something like that and show the benefit of being able to gift those around you and those in need directly. Because look, giving money to the local soup kitchens and Habitat for Humanity and any of the organizations, it's great to do. But there's a lot of administrative costs. There's a lot of the easiest thing is to just give people money, which is why universal basic income is, kind of a good solution. But like I said, we're not going to get there anytime soon, at least. So that's what I think. I think that we need to come together. We need to stop relying on government for all of these problems, unemployment, insurance included. And I think that the way that we do that is by coming together and getting enough people and building a community of support. So I hope that you join me. I will put up online how to access the group page through the Keiko app that lists all of the things that I am working on. And then I'm more than happy to help others set themselves up so that they can do the same. Before I close out, I just want to thank everybody who listened last week and everybody who kind of reached out. I am feeling a lot better. Still having headaches just about daily from gluten exposure, but other than that, things are going a lot better. And a special thank you to my dad, who is absolutely awesome. He got Keiko Vision pens and stickers. So if you see me, ask me for one, because I am going to try to have them on me at all times. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Keiko the social app. Keiko the social app. Keiko the social app. Keiko rules. Keiko the social app. Billionaire greed. Keiko the social app. Destroying America. Keiko the social app. T-minus 7 years and counting. Keiko the social app.